Hi, we're Bonnie and George Lamb.
In 2018, we decided to quit our jobs, sell everything we own, and just start traveling the world.
One of our first stops was house sitting for our friends Ray and Tanya Smith and their son Eddie while they enjoyed time on their boat. Before they left, we discussed doing a crossing with them from the Caribbean across to the Med.
Unfortunately, after that trip, they decided to sell their boat. Boy, were we bummed. Luckily, they've decided to build a new, bigger, better boat.
Now, through the course of conversation, Ray suggested that instead of just doing a crossing, we consider moving on board the boat and becoming permanent caretakers. We decided this was a great idea.
So here we are in Knysna, South Africa, where the boat is being built. Ray and Tanya couldn't get here, so we're helping to make sure that the boat turns out exactly as they wanted it.
We hope you'll join us on our video adventures as the boat gets built, launched, and we sail it around the world.
Ray and Tanya's new 55-foot catamaran, the 550, is being built by Knysna Yacht Company. It's the largest boat they've ever built. Kevin and Rika Fausch, who are managing the build, started Knysna Yacht Company, and they've just recently sold it to new owners.
So today we're going to meet the new owners and learn a little bit more about how they build boats. Ready to go?
Can I finish my coffee?
Okay.
Welcome to Knysna Yacht Company.
We're here with Grant and Craig Rochard, the new owners of Knysna Yacht Company. So gents, thanks for taking time to talk to us. And I guess my first question is, what on earth led you to buy a boatyard?
We happened to be introduced to Kevin Fisher from the previous owner of the company, and we went into a series of negotiations that lasted just short of a year, and things just seemed to fall into place, and we loved Knysna and the area, and the sailing aspect of it is something that we are learning every day more about, and it's becoming more of a passion for us.
How do you divvy up the work responsibilities? Is one of you an expert in one area and one an expert in the other, or do you both do everything, or do you take one boat build and you take another? How does that work?
Well, I think originally when we came into the business, we were adamant that Grant and I wouldn't fulfill specific roles in the business. In other words, him on marketing and sales and myself on production, because we were just very aware that could cause conflict with owners, right? So I think even having taken the decision to try to not divvy up the work with specific roles in specific areas, we've naturally gravitated towards certain areas in the business. I came from a sort of construction management background, and I've been working in development and project work all my life. So I'm a very technical and hands-on type of person. Grant had the IT consultancy business, so he had a very analytical way of thinking about things and problem solving and systems and procedures and those sorts of things, which he brought to the business, I think. And I think we bring to the boat building industry something which most of the other boatyards don't have. And from a sort of management point of view, Grant's naturally gravitated towards the sales and marketing. He's the handsome one, the good-looking one. And I've sort of stuck to the more technical hands-on on the production floor type of work. So far it's working pretty well.
Now that raises an interesting point. You came into this, obviously Kevin and Rika have been building boats in this factory for years, and people have fallen in love with their designs, their finishes, their fits. How much is the Knysna Yacht style, look, feel, overall appearance and functionality going to change under your leadership as compared to what Kevin and Rika were doing?
I think like most yards, probably a lot of that is governed by what the market dictates and what the market wants and what our owners want. So really it's going to be a function of the feedback that we get from the owners that we sell to, from people in the market, people in the industry. They like cars. Fashions come and fashions go. It's a little bit more difficult in that the tooling is very expensive, so you can't tool up for a new model every single year, although some of the production yards are trying to do that. But really we'll try to not change it up too much. I think we've got a good following. The value of the boats really retain themselves very well because we don't do a facelift every single year. So we'll take our lead from the market and our existing owners out there, but we've got our new 55, which is about to be launched, and that's about as cutting edge as we're going to be for now. And then we'll see how the market accepts that into the marketplace. And other than that, we've still got our beautiful 50-foot. It's got its old traditional sleek lines, which a lot of people still compliment on, and it sort of differentiates from what else is in the market at the moment.
It's interesting to think that these boats are each custom built for the owners that have it. How much real flexibility do the owners have as far as the look and feel and the kitting out of the boat? I mean, is it just you have a list of things and you can change these 5 things, or could I literally come in as a buyer and say that I want to radically redesign the interior?
I think there's a couple of things to consider. We often use the term semi-custom to advise people's thinking or guide people's thinking away from the idea that you start with an empty shell and you can, design a boat from scratch. That's not what we do. We do have, tooling on the boat. There are certain things that cannot be changed. For example, the bulkheads need to be in a certain position. The boat is CE certified, so moving big equipment around could change the weight and balance of the boat, which requires recertification from a CE point of view. So it's important for owners to understand that there are certain parameters in which we need to work when changing the boat to fit in with their style or look that they're going for. So we absolutely can customize the boat as far as the style of the finish, the interior. We've got a wide range of finishes and fabrics for the owners to choose from. But then obviously we want the boat to become a home on water for the owners. So we are very amenable when it comes to making changes that are not going to compromise the structural integrity of the boat and don't require any changes to be made in terms of the certification requirements around the CE requirement.
I think it would have to be, as Grant says, outside of the CE, or as you pointed out, outside of any CE implications or outside of any weight and balance or safety regulations. I don't really think there's anything that we'd say an absolute no to. We might try to steer you away from certain things that we know don't work or that we think are not a good idea, but ultimately it's going to be your boat, it's your investment, and you need to fall in love with it, and you need to be happy on the boat while you're there.
Last question. Let's talk about the 550. How drastically different is it?
Well, it's 5 more feet on the length and about 5 more feet in the air too. So we've got a whole flybridge, which we've never really had before. So the flybridge is a bit of a first for us. And then I think the whole lines of the hull are completely different, with the straight rake bow instead of the current, like on the current model, is a little bit new and a little bit more modern. We're hoping it's going to be a great performer, even more so than the 50. And we're really excited and looking forward to it. So it's quite a big jump for us. It's a
So are Bonnie and I.
It's a really big jump for us, and we're really excited about it. And look forward to getting the feedback from you in the crossing. Right?
I think what's important to just mention there and note is that there are 2 completely different designers. So same builder but different architects. I think most people would know that our 500 SE was designed by Angelo Libranos, who lives in New Zealand and has had a fantastic career, but is nearing or even kind of in retirement. Kevin had appointed Anton Dutoy as the naval architect, and Anton actually worked with Angelo Libranos as an apprentice. So it's quite a nice progression. In fact, that there's still some sort of a tie in the lines of the boat, and there's some connection between the naval architects from the 500 to the 550. We hope to that comes through in the design elements of the boat.
Yes, little things like the slanted windows and the very sleek design and the very steep sloping windows is something which a lot of people have commented on, and without us sort of actively doing it, I think it's become a little bit of a signature of the boat and the design. So that's probably one of the small little features that carries on from the 50 foot through to the 55. But other than that, it's a completely new boat, new start, and we're hoping for the best.
I know a lot of people have been in boat yards, but I was hoping that you could actually take me through a tour and kind of show me the highlights of the process of getting the boats built up and the capabilities you have here at the yard.
With pleasure.
Okay, great.
Where we are right now is at the starting point of the production process. What you see behind me here are the hull molds for the Knysna 500 SE. There's a boat that's just been laid up in here at the moment. So what you can't see too well is that it's actually a split mold. This all opens up and then we laminate the inside and then close it up. I'll take you inside in a minute and show you what the inside looks like. What is always astounding about a business like this is that everything that arrives through the front door on that side comes in barrels of resin and rolls of cloth, and it ends up being a boat that leaves the front door, which is quite an interesting process to follow. So if you like, I'll take you up onto the the boat, and you can see what the start of the process looks like. We are standing on top of a new boat that's just been put into the mold. Every boat that comes out of the mold gets a serial number or a hull number for that specific model. This one that we're standing on here is hull number 94, and it belongs to Stephen McNult. This is a boat that was laid up about a month ago. And just to quickly explain the process, so the mold starts off cleaned. Then we put a release agent onto the mold, and then we put the gel coat in, the outer layer of e-glass laminate. Then it gets vacuum bonded with closed cell PVC foam, and then the inner layer of laminate, and then the hulls are joined together on the sides. And that's pretty much where we are with this process at the moment. The next stage is that the bulkheads will be put in to give the boat its strength and rigidity. Then the mold is pulled away and the boat is lifted out of the mold. And that process will happen in about 30 days' time. This is the storeroom where we keep all of the consumable stock that gets used on a boat. Every boat, as we've said, gets a serial number, and we work on a project accounting or project job costing basis, whereby every item that gets issued to or used on a boat is issued to that boat. And it's valuable in the sense that we have control over things like batch numbers and serial numbers, so we have complete traceability of all the stock that gets issued to any specific boat. So if ever there were to be an issue with a bad batch of chemical or gel coat or resin, we are able to trace it back to any specific boat that it was used on. After the boat comes out of the mold, we move into a stage which we call primary assembly, and that's typically where we are doing all of the initial build work, which takes place mostly out of a foam core material. It's a closed cell PVC foam that's very, very light. That's one of the benefits of working with a semi-custom builder like ourselves, is that the boat is not heavily tooled, because the more you tool a boat, the heavier it gets. So the more pre-manufactured modules there are, the heavier the boat is typically. Whereas most of our boats' interior is custom built according to the client's requirements out of panels of this type of foam. When we start using it, it looks like this. Before it gets put into any kind of application, it's vacuum or resin infused to create an outer layer of fiberglass. Having mentioned the term resin infusion, here you can see an example of a bulkhead that's being infused. The primary composition of the boat is, we refer to it as GRP, or glass reinforced plastic. So all the structural components of the boat are built in this fashion, where you have a PVC closed cell core, and then it's balanced with a e-glass laminate on either side. With performance and weight always being a very important consideration, I just want to give you a quick behind the scenes look of what appears to be a simple, panel of wood is actually quite an interesting, means of constructing. So you can see here again that what we have here is actually wood on either side, or an HPL laminate on either side, with a marine ply backing on the HPL and a foam core on the inside. So it's quite a complex bit of construction when you actually look at it in a bit more detail. And this is all done to keep the boat nice and light. In addition to that, I now sit with a panel which probably needs to be edged in some way, because you can't leave the foam core exposed. So the next step then is to actually route out that foam core, and then that needs to be finished, so that, or to make provision for attachments of locker and door hardware such as hinges. Here's an example, just with a different finish, of a door that's now been, excuse the dust, that's been inlaid and place made for the hinges. So in this particular example, the foam has been routed out and laid in with some maple wood there. So it's now a nice solid door, but it's very lightweight with the foam inside. Then we also have an example of one of the locker doors. Some of these doors we do with a lattice style. It's again dependent on the style that the owner is going for. A lot of painstaking work goes into manufacturing these step by step. Another workshop we have here in the basement is our smalls area. We call this the smalls area because this is where we mold all of these smaller components that get fitted onto the boats. Example here in front of me is a rudder for the Knysna 550 that's actually going to go into your boat. So there's many other things here also. Every component that's resin infused or vacuum infused on the table over there, like the bulkheads and any flat paneling that's used in the construction of the boat. Also things like hatches, lids for anything that's made out of fiberglass. So all the small fiberglass components for the boat are made in this workshop. After primary assembly, the boat moves over to our final assembly station over here, where I'm standing right now. This is a Knysna 500 SE hull number 93. It belongs to Kevin Martin, and the boat has been named Meridian. At the final assembly stage, we're focusing on all of the fixtures and fittings, the deck gear, stainless steel fittings such as the push bits, grab rails. Then we're also starting with the electrical and equipment installations, the plumbing, the hydraulics, and simultaneously we're also busy doing the final touches on the inside of the boat with regards to the installation of all of the door frames, locker frames, and those kinds of things. After that, the boat is thoroughly checked here in the factory, and then it heads out the front door down to the waterfront.
Behind us you can see the 550. This is the one that we're going to be living on, but that's all you get to see of it this week. You got to wait till next week when we actually do a detailed walkthrough.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe below. Bye.